investigating the death. Let's get more on this now. Sahar Aziz is an associate professor at the Texas A&M School of Law. She's also the author of Bringing Down an Uprising, Egypt's Stillborn Revolutions. She's joining us live from Dallas. Ms. Aziz, it's very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. So firstly, what do you make of the Interior Ministry's statement that a low-ranking police officer accidentally killed his taxi driver after bullets, mistakenly came out of the gun after they had a fight?
Well, unfortunately, in light of the Minister of Interior's very poor record of human rights, it's difficult to find that explanation believable or plausible. Police abuse against particularly poor young men is a major problem in Egypt, and in fact was one of the drivers of the uprisings in January of 2011. So there have been many complaints and concerns that the abuse has not only continued, but that it's actually gotten worse, because the police and the intelligence services have been engaged in what some believe is a retaliatory vendetta against Egypt's masses to punish them for daring to uprise against the regime and daring to challenge the abuses of the security forces during those uprisings.
Well, I was just going to say, it's not just poor young men, is it? Because it's taxi drivers, I believe, that are protesting at the moment. Last week, it was health workers after police abuse against them. Is there a problem? Is there a wider problem in Egypt with police, with security officials abusing their power?
Absolutely, and many of these individuals who drive taxis and who work for the government, they make barely 500 pounds a month, and so they're barely above the poverty rates. So the only people that are protected are the wealthy, the super wealthy, who can effectively buy themselves protection from abuse. But yes, mass abuse is a big problem, and there's no accountability. Very few police have been prosecuted. The investigations are usually a sham, and the people frankly just don't trust their government when it comes to their claims that they're going to protect them from police abuse.
And they're out on the streets protesting. They are showing their frustration. Does it put pressure, these protests, on the Egyptian government?
Well, in the post-2011 era, they have effectively quashed all protests. So the fact that they are protesting shows that there is some very serious concerns, because at this moment, everyone who's been protesting has been jailed. And the fact that this is an ad hoc random protest should be a signal to the government that things are not good from the populist perspective. But what you'll likely see is people jailed and prosecuted under an anti-protest law that has been used as pretext to quash political dissent. And it's used against civil society, but it's also used against the average citizen who simply wants to survive and retain their basic dignity.
What you're talking about there is what some human rights organizations would call human rights violations. And just yesterday, Egyptian authorities, shut down an NGO, Al Nadim Center, that was investigating torture, human rights violations. How does all of this, bode for a government that's been accused of so many violations?
Well, it's part of a broader trend of the counter-revolution that's been going on since 2013, when the democratically elected president was forcibly ousted by the military general who is now the president. And the Nadim Center is known for being the primary defendant of torture victims, and beyond just providing them with legal services, they provide them with psychological services and psychiatric services, because the trauma and the long-term effects of torture are absolutely inhumane. And they were one of the few organizations who were directly addressing this, which of course means that people have to admit that torture exists. And the Egyptian government continues to deny it, notwithstanding the plethora of evidence that shows that torture is a serious problem in Egypt. And now we have one less credible expert organization working on that issue, which will simply aggravate it.
Sahar Aziz is Associate Professor at the Texas A&M School of Law. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, a bus has collided with a truck in northern Ghana, killing 71 people.